Let's talk about how to leverage money for time. I have this realization all the time, which is just based on our pure revenue, if our entire team was let go and it was just me and my co-founder Robert, we'd be making $50,000, $60,000 a month, easy each. And if it was just me solo, I'd be making over 120,000 or ish, something like that a month, right? If we cut everybody on the team. But instead of firing everybody, right, or moving on, we have decided, or I've decided, to use my money to buy time. I would rather be able to block out 2 or 3 days a week to work and spend the rest of the time doing whatever I want than I would make, $100K a month. Plus, of course, the business wouldn't be where it is without the team, especially Robert, and actually we have almost no dead weight on the team. So the businesses would not be where they are without the entire team. So who knows, maybe without the team I would only be making 30K a month or 40K a month in pure profit. But I would rather not work so much and instead provide jobs and provide this whole system for everybody else. And that's what me and Robert agree on more than anything. I think one reason why we really work together as co-founders is we're so aligned on this. We would rather spend our money to buy time than spend our time to make more money. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video. How can you use your money to buy back some of your time so you're not working every second of the day? Stick around. This video is brought to you by Email 10K. Learn how to book meetings with billion-dollar brands and take your company to the next level at email10k.com. The first thing you can do if you want to buy back some of your time is charge more per hour. We used to do this when I was doing cold email consulting. I used to charge, first it was $100 for an hour. And I remember I was so excited after I got this first $100. I went to a steak restaurant, Steak Frites in LA, and I ordered like a $60 meal and it was delicious. But little did I know that 3 or 4 weeks later, I'd be charging not $100 an hour, but $300 an hour. And within 3 months, I would be charging $600, then $700, then $800, then up to $1,000 an hour for the exact same work. And all that led to was first more steak dinners, and then more spending money on garbage. That's why I actually started the Crazy Money channel, was to stop me from spending money on extravagant things and instead start investing the money. And by the way, our portfolio on Crazy Money is doing very well. I would suggest subscribing to that channel and also subscribing to this channel. You ever subscribe to this channel? Go ahead and do it and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. So that's the first thing you can do, is charge more money, because if you're getting $40 an hour, you're gonna have to work 40 hours a week in order to make any decent amount. But if you're charging $1,000 an hour, now all of a sudden you really only have to work like 4 hours a month to make 4K a month, which puts you in a glorious spot of freedom. So one way to easily free up some time is to charge more money. And yes, you're gonna get less conversions in theory, but what actually happened with us was when we started raising the consulting rates up from 100 to 200 to 300, 400, 500, up to 1,000, we actually saw more conversions as people started to get worried that the price was gonna increase. So they would buy at the lower price. And we actually made a decent amount of cash when we were doing that. The only reason we stopped is because, again, I don't like spending my time on anything that I'm not super passionate about. So these one-on-one calls, even when we were making $1,000 an hour, it just didn't make sense for me to do it. It's not something I want to do with my lifestyle. My co-founder, Robert, loves being on the calls, which is why he handles our coaching calls now, and we charge a slightly reduced rate. Although we should charge more, because Robert is unbelievably qualified to run 6-figure agencies, 7-figure agencies. The second thing you can do is use tools to make the work easier. So for instance, let's say you're running leads manually, you're doing lead gen manually, you can use a tool like UpLead to generate better leads and quicker. Or if you're writing custom first lines, like we recommend a bunch on this channel, you might want to use an AI custom first line generator that exists. I don't have any that I could recommend. If you have any that you like, please feel free to comment down below. But there are tools out there that'll automate your first lines. There are tools out there that'll write your leads for you. Some will even automate your sending. And so if you can spend a little bit of money up front on those tools, now you spend less time later on actually working. And that goes for anything. If you're spending a lot of time developing websites from scratch, you might want to invest in ClickFunnels because it just makes it quicker. Or if you're spending a lot of time learning something, you might want to invest in an online course because it'll speed up the learning process, right? Spend money to save time. How can I spend $100 to make me never have to do this task again, is where you should be thinking. Which actually brings us to the next point, which is build business systems. Now, I learned this from Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, in his book, Onward. He tells the story of one time he was driving around in his car and he saw a Starbucks where one of the letters had burned out on the sign. It was at night and maybe the B in Bucks was burned out. So Howard Schultz called the person in charge of the business systems, and instead of doing what normal people would do, which is yell at them about this specific B being out on this store, he created a system so that no light on any Starbucks ever would be burned out. And that's the way that I think about everything as well. The other day, we messed up a thumbnail on one of our Sunday videos. And instead of just yelling at Div, being like, what happened? We thought about the system. And it turned out the reason why the Sunday video got messed up is because our thumbnail editor needed 24 hours notice and Div was sick that day. So the solution to that is to build the thumbnails way earlier or speed up the thumbnail creation process. One of those two things. And so now that that fix is implemented, we should never have a bad thumbnail again. And I also implemented a quick fix. I made the thumbnail for that Sunday video, and I made it look like what our other thumbnail designer creates. So fix the problem as is, but then build a system so that the problems never happen. And in theory, and what I've found actually in practice, is if you do this enough times, your machine, your business machine is running so smoothly that you talking to your team actually hurts things. What I found is when I come in and I'm like typing furiously at my team, all I'm doing is throwing them off of their perfectly created groove. If I just leave them alone and maybe only talk to them on the weeklies, the system most of the time works better than if I'm in there actually managing them actively. Some people call it laissez-faire management, and I'll go with that term. So you can build those business systems for yourself or do what I recommend, which is hire other people to work on them. And Ankit, who's on our marketing team, he puts these notes together. He used the term VA, which is virtual assistant. I'm not using that term anymore because I think it's actually xenophobic. I think there's people in India and Philippines and all countries that aren't the US that are actually more qualified than people in the United States. So there needs to be a better term for virtual assistant. Just hire freelancers or hire employees is probably the right way to go about it. And of course they're going to be in other countries because if you tried hiring a freelancer for $7 an hour in the US, you're gonna get garbage. Even if you hire one for $18 or $19, you're gonna get complete and utter trash. But if you spend $18 in the Philippines or $18 an hour in India, you're gonna get a doctorate level person. So that's why I don't like the term virtual assistant, but basically hire somebody, use Upwork, use some of these other tools and hire someone to do this work. I remember when we first hired Ronaldo, who was my assistant before Div, who now is our director of marketing. Ronaldo took everything off my plate. He started managing the podcast. He started managing the YouTube channel. And Div does the same stuff. Now he's a producer on Crazy Money and he's doing all this other stuff for the enterprise that we run. But he started as just a freelancer. And actually the same was true of my co-founder, Robert Indresh. He started as just an assistant, a content writer that we were paying to write content for us. And he became my full co-founder at X27. And now we run a bunch of stuff together, BotFuse, browse domains, etc. See how I'm just sprinkling in browse domains. So you can start with an assistant that'll take some of the stuff off of your list. Ideally, the assistant is good. It doesn't matter what country they're in, they just have to be good. And what I found in my experience is that means not hiring anybody in the US. And I don't know why, maybe that's an issue that's gonna have to be addressed in the future, but who knows? So hire an assistant, probably from another country. And that's just to take stuff off your task list. But if you really want to start scaling, then the next step is outsource the work. So then you start hiring key people to take over specific tasks on the team. For instance, for this brand, for just the Alex Berman brand, we have Div, who is director of marketing. He runs the marketing of everything. Ty does the SEO. Alex, with a K, does the ads. Ankit helps Div wherever he needs help. And there's a ton of other people. That's just on the Alex Berman brand. That's not even talking about the people we have at X27, like Jacob and Alex and Michelle and Robert and everyone over there. That's not counting Andre and the team over at BotFuse. That was literally just for the Alex Berman brand. So what I've found is if you hire people to do the work, you don't have to do the work anymore. And if you pick the right key hires, then the work is actually going to get better than if you were doing it yourself. For instance, one of my favorite hires recently was Jacob Elbaum, who is our conversion rate optimization guy just for Email 10K. So he was able to go through and make changes to the Email 10K funnel and landing page with the help of our team, and just go through the entire process of making more sales for Email 10K. Now that I'm listing the team, I'm like, do I gotta call out everyone? Daniel's our amazing video editor. You know, like there's so many people. Daniel, I meant to name you first. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So that's where you get eventually. And yes, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, could we run the business without all these people? Yes, I don't think we'd be making as much money, and I don't think we'd have the reach that we have now. So it's better to have the team. I don't mind the team, especially because it's not like it influences my lifestyle at all. The only way it influences my lifestyle is positively, right? I can work less without having to be in an office. This isn't an office. This is just my apartment in Las Vegas. I set up this little YouTube studio, right? Dave's cool in India. Robert's cool in the UK or Romania or wherever he is. So that's the ideal way to be outsourcing your work. Make it so you don't have to go into an office and you're only hiring people that can work remotely and are good. The last thing Ankit wrote here was passive exponential income source.
Which I guess is true.
He said like investing the money, and it's true. I have options now in Gap, and as of recording this right now, we're up $2,300 on our Gap investment, and we're up $2,200 in our crypto, and etc. You know, like, so investing actually does work. What I found is you do need money to invest, and that's why you do entrepreneurship, to make the money to then invest in whatever. And I'm investing over half my income every month in crypto and stocks and Gap, mostly the Gap, or whatever options. And we talk about it a lot on Crazy Money. I also happen to buy a watch, which I don't have yet, but you'll see it soon on Crazy Money, so go ahead and subscribe there. But that's another good way to actually build up your income sources. For instance, we had Simple Apps. We just sold it for 3 times more than we paid for it, but Simple Apps for a long time was making us $500 or $600 a month. And the real estate, the building I own, makes us $1,000-ish, $2,000 a month. So you can really build up these passive income streams. Just the AdWords on this YouTube channel makes us a couple $1,000s a month. So there's a lot of these passive channels that you can be investing in, and that'll help you free up your time as well. So here's a question for you. What repetitive part of your day do you want to outsource? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you want, you can check out our other video here, which is how to build a business system in 7 steps. If you're struggling to get clients that pay you what you deserve, and you want a quick path from 0 to 10K a month in your agency, check out email10k.com. You can see that. We'll link it right down below, and you can check that out. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to smash that like button to encourage this type of content on YouTube. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. I'm Alex Berman.